Welcome back, everyone. We're here for another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son, George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, so we started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. The next thing I want to do is not a regular welcome. This individual to me is incredibly inspiring. He knows I met him probably a year ago, and I feel like I'm family because I see him so much and we talk, but it was, he's a tough schedule and he's always traveling and really trying to help bring awareness. And he was one of my first individuals I wanted to bring on. So I wanted to welcome founder of Peloton for Parkinsons, Eric Tostrud. And I just want to welcome you, sir, to the program.
Thank you very much, George. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to talking to you about everything today.
And as we said earlier, one thing I really look for, which is not always easy, but because there's not a lot of things that are rare, but I look for some inspiring stories. But you took an area that I probably can't do because my rear end hurts from riding bikes too long. But I really admire the Peloton world. I mean, as you know better than anyone, and you're the expert, is that really has kind of taken off the last few years around the world. But you were able to take a specific area and bring it towards awareness for Parkinson's. So just to get right into it, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the fitness world.
Yeah, so fitness world wise, how I got into fitness was through, if you remember P90X and Tony Horton. Remember, he's still around and he's like 64 now and he's still in incredible shape. But I got into fitness doing that back in, like 05. I was still working in banking. And, you'd come home and you'd grab your weights and I'd put in back then it was a DVD, streaming wasn't a thing. And I started doing P90X and I got in pretty good shape. And really what happened was friends would see me and be like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, that P90X thing that Horton guy does. Well, can I come do it with you? And I would have friends come just do it with me. And I'd push play on the video and I wasn't training. They were just doing it with me. And it slowly progressed to then, I'll never forget, one of my good friends now, who is a bank customer, Larry, came in with his son, Brian, and he sits down and I'm like, kind of confused, like, hey, Larry, what's going on? We just refinanced your loan like last week and got you 4%. Oh, I don't want to talk to you about that. I wondered if you thought about personal training. I want you to train me and my son. Well, I'd never really given that thought, but at the time I was going through a divorce. I was, the mortgage market had slowed down quite a bit. So to be completely frank, I needed the extra income. I was like, sure, I can train you. Just know, here's, this is my background, whatever. And trained him, did great, him and his son. And it just slowly progressed to where then I went, by the end of that year, I got NASM certified and became a certified personal trainer. And I literally started coming home from banking and I'd take off my suit and tie and put on basically what I have on now, ball cap and shorts, and train people. And I did that for a number of years until I actually left banking in 2014. So that's my fitness background.
No, I love it. I mean, I was a certified personal trainer a long time ago. It's sad that I don't even know if we have Gold's Gym or Bally's around anymore. So that shows my age.
Gold's is still around. I don't know about Bally's. I know Gold's is. Bally's probably got bought.
Yeah, not like it used to be though. It was, you'd see one on every block, and sometimes there were even two on a block. But so I think, and I even started a company called Fitness for the Professional, where I would go to people's homes to actually train them. But I ended up,
oh, wow.
shifting from that into the world of law enforcement. So you need to have fitness in every field, every person, and that's where we get right down now to one aspect is how do you take a interesting concept like the Peloton? Maybe you can explain a Peloton for those who aren't aware, but how do you take that and add it to Parkinson's awareness? And I've seen it growing and growing, and I imagine even in the future it's going to be bigger than ever now because of streaming and people can have the bike at home and join you. So maybe we can get really into that's the heart of this.
Yeah, so we've, really what happened is it all started with a gift. So in December of 2015, so this is the infancy of Peloton, the company. And I'll kind of explain to you actually the word Peloton's a noun, which we kind of moved towards here recently. But back in December 2015, at that point, I was working with a lot of people in person, but then through the company who made P90X Beachbody, I used to work with people all over the country. So I had people here locally in Hudson, Wisconsin, and the surrounding communities, but then I had a few hundred people that I would get them P90X, and I'd kind of coach them and check in on them and keep them accountable. I wasn't really training them, but I was, keeping them accountable. So I had all these people, and I worked with them for, probably most of them 2, 3, 4 years. And in December 2015, we're going down to have a drink before Christmas. At least that's what I thought it was. Everyone after my class, which I was teaching people out of my garage, my third stall in my garage was walled off, and I had a gym in there. And hey, we're all going down to Pier 500, this local great restaurant in town, and you should come. I'm like, yeah, okay, we're just gonna have a Christmas drink. Well, I get down there, here this is this big surprise party, and they have people shooting video, playing videos from people who I help around the country, and this whole big thing saying, hey, we just wanted to thank you. And boom, they give me a Peloton spin bike as a gift. They all, few hundred people, whatever, chipped in, bought me a Peloton spin bike. I was blown away. And at that time, I said, this is an amazing gift. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure out a way to pay this forward. And that was that. So how it became into Parkinson's is April 1st, 2016. That morning, I'm on social media like everybody does. And I saw that it was Parkinson's Awareness Month. I never knew that. And it was a Michael J. Fox Foundation post. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Didn't really think a ton of it, but like, oh, that's really neat. I'd like to get involved in that. My parents came over for a visit. My mom was still alive then. She was still pretty able-bodied, but it was starting to get to her a little bit. They came over for some coffee and conversation. And I was walking my mom down to their car, down our driveway, and she has my arm because our driveway is a little sloped. And all of a sudden, light bulb. And I have this selfie, and it's my favorite picture in the world. Before I did anything, I said, Mom, take a selfie with me right now. And I held up my phone and I took a selfie with my mom. And I said, that spin bike those people gave me? Yeah, I said, I'm gonna ride that all day the last Friday of April, and I'm gonna take all of Peloton's classes, and I'm gonna raise money for Michael J. Fox Foundation. Like, oh, that's nice, dear. She's not quite grasping what I was doing. And that's how it begun. And really what happened was I went on Facebook and put a post out. And, that was the infancy of Peloton, the company. And so I messaged a few people and said, hey, am I crazy? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all their classes from then it was 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to take every class they offer, and I'm going to try and raise some money. And a bunch of people messaged, that's really cool. I want to do it with you. And then I started putting it out in the public forum on Facebook, and I was getting comments and messages. And in the Peloton group chat, my mom has Parkinson's. My grandpa died of Parkinson's. I have Parkinson's. And it really became this thing. And so those first 2-3 years, that's when we were focused on Peloton, the bike company. And then in 2018, they actually asked me to do it at the Mall of America, which was super cool. And really what happened is we started thinking about people who don't own a $3,000 spin bike. And Peloton as a company started getting really big. And so their involvement in it kind of had to pull back. At the same time, I really wanted to start talking about it more as Peloton. Actually, the word, if you look it up in the dictionary, means group of riders. So they'll use the expression in cycling races. Like if you watch the Tour de France, they'll say the lead Peloton, that's the lead group of riders. So we transitioned to Peloton for Parkinsons, meaning group of people. Like I actually sell t-shirts that have the definition of Peloton on them, and I take a little liberty with it. But to educate people that it's not just about, I still have people who ride Pelotons who do our event, but since 2019, we've moved over to where I have, like this year, I'll have 11 classes at our event center, which is at Tattersall Event Center in River Falls, Wisconsin. We actually zoom out our rides. So it's like, I call it the poor man's Peloton, or where how the ugly people who teach Peloton, or teach spin, I'm talking about myself. We're not quite as pretty as the trainers who work for Peloton, but now it's become a thing where you don't have to own a Peloton bike. You can ride one, you can ride a spin bike, you can go outside, and we use that word meaning group of riders. So, and this year we've got 80 bikes in person, And I think we have at least over 100 people joining us virtually through our app that we use called classy.org that kind of incorporates Zoom. So it's become a thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing seeing the progression of the growth of the Peloton. And I think the main word you might agree is community. Sounds like you're forming.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people out there who want this, but they're just not aware of it. And that's what my hope is today. Even if we reach one person that doesn't even, sometimes I can't even spell Peloton. I'm not going to lie. Every time we talk and I write to you, I'm like, I
You
might
would think I can. I'm always like Pelo, and then I'll grab something. I'll go, okay, how do we spell that? Oh yeah.
I have a
Yeah,
lot of
you would think
degrees,
the guy
but my schooling didn't help me with the Peloton work, but I appreciate it. And then how do you incorporate, again, now maybe you can talk to the viewers about Rock Steady Boxing, but how do you incorporate it? Is it just that you offer a lot of different fitness, or how do you go from the Peloton machine to also the boxing all together in one
Well,
beautiful?
so the event that we have is just about spinning. My Rock Steady Box. So really what's happened with the charity is, I started this thing in my garage. I'm riding all day. My mom came to join me, some friends, we raised $5,000. Well, last year we raised $135,000.
Congratulations.
And just in the event, thank you. And so what we started in 2020, we actually created our own 501(c)(3). And so when we're doing our events, we're still raising money for Michael J. Fox Foundation and Team Fox that you're aware of, kind of the athlete or the event side of Michael J. Fox Foundation. But then we also have our own 501(c). What that helps fund is I do a class called Rock Steady Boxing. I teach that here at my gym. So like I'm sitting in my office at my gym right now, and that is fitness classes. It has a boxing component, but it's not just boxing. And obviously we're not having Fight Club and having people with Parkinson's make contact with each other. But I teach those classes out of my gym. And so we have the nice thing about our event, and what we do is we have and people can tell us where they want their money, or they can let us choose. But if someone makes a donation, they can say, I want it to go to Michael J. Fox Foundation because I really care about research and finding a cure. Some people, when they donate to charity, which is very common, say, I want it to stay in my community. I want to see what happens to it, and we use it to buy recumbent bikes and buy equipment. And so my Rock Steady Boxers, how they get involved with our ride on Saturday, and you'll see it if you kind of watch social media, is I have people who ride all day themselves. My Rock Steady Boxers do a team all day ride where they are each signed up for one of the rides, and there's multiple boxers on the ride. They're completing the whole day as a team. So it's really neat. We bring the recumbent bikes in because not all of them can sit on a regular spin bike. So it's really neat to see. And right as of today, they have raised the most money as a team. I think they've raised $8,000 as a team. They're in first place, which is pretty cool.
Wow. It's amazing to see how someone could be timid or shy, and then all of a sudden you put them on the bike and they're leading the way of an army of riders.
It's really neat. A lot of my boxers come and we wave our flag to start each ride, and we'll have a lot of times people with Parkinson's, or maybe a spouse or a child of someone who passed away from the disease. They could get up and say a few words and kind of, gentlemen, start your engines, wave our flag. And a lot of my boxers do that. And you're right, a lot of them are a little quiet. And we actually in class work on voice inflection, because talking quietly is one of the things that can happen to people with Parkinson's, I'm sure you'll know. So it's really neat to see them come out of the shell. We have in our classes, we have a lot of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. How about now I'm going to share your website just so we can talk a little bit over, and maybe you can walk us through, but maybe you can touch on your marathon team with Team Fox that you've done for several years or a few years now. Share this. So let me just figure it.
Will I see that or no?
Yeah, I'm hoping you do.
Great.
You'll be able to see it right about now. So everybody, please support.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, please support Eric. Please go to the Peloton4Parkinsons website. It's Peloton. That's PEL for people like me. OTO, the number 4, Parkinson.com. But you'll see some incredible things. So maybe you can talk about the upcoming marathon and also the website. If you want me to go any certain place, feel free to let me know.
Yeah. So this is our homepage. And this is where now with our event this weekend, people are clicking ride with us if they want to come ride with us. The dinner tickets now are actually closed because we had to put our food order in this week. If you click like registration, if you click that, you'll see, and you just click, maybe just click as individual. You'll see a list. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a list of the single ride. So right now we're basically in the process, because we're only 5 days away, of filling rides. So we have people who do all day. That registration's closed. What is available now is just people who say, hey, I want to come do one ride. I want to see this thing. We have some people, frankly, who just come and watch, because they'll have friends in it. And they're like, I want to watch my friend sit in a spin bike for 11 hours. Like you said, you get a sore behind. Actually, we have a class tonight going on. It's usually 45-minute spin class. They're doing 2 hours tonight. I did the same thing Saturday, because if you just spend some time sitting on a spin bike, it's going to, your butt's going to get used to it. That's a video that a friend of mine, Jason Hammond, who owns a media company called Tostrud Media, he made this for me back in 2018. They reached out to me and said, hey, we like to take a charity or a philanthropic activity and do some complimentary work for them. They created my logo. They created this video. They gave me all this great stuff that really was the turning point of this, going from a thing that this dude does in his garage for his mom to a full-fledged, like, real charity. So that video is very meaningful to me. And my mom passed away 11 months later. This was 2018 was the last P4P she made it to. She passed away a week before our 2019 event.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, but unfortunately, in a way, we have so much in common, but it also is a lot of light out of the darkness. So what you're doing today and my advocacy and how we're working as a team, I think our voices are, so much stronger together. And I personally will never let your mother's memory be forgotten. And I'm grateful again for all you do for the community, for me, and for all those out there. And this video inspires me, and it's beautifully done. So, we won't get.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to turn this into a sad moment, but it's
no, I appreciate it. Well, and I think that, I think, George, the thing that I think you've done well, and, and I try to do, is it sucks to watch someone you love go through this. There's anger associated with that too, and frustration, and you're mad. Mm-hmm. Just like good emotions have power. But my thing is, hey, negative emotions have power. And if we don't place that somewhere, and I told my mom, I said, it sucks to watch you like this. If someone watches that video, they'll see my mom didn't smoke, didn't drink. There's a picture of my mom with a 6-pack in the 70s before people called it a 6-pack.
I've never even had that.
yeah, me neither, really. And, it's not like no one does anything to deserve it, but she did everything right. And I was mad that this happened to her. And I thought, hey, let's take that energy. It's usable energy, and use it and do something positive with it. And now it's become, this full on thing where we have a dinner on Friday night where we have Parkinson's experts coming in to talk. The ride Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You're on the party site right now. I hire a band, a local cover band called Rhino, who's just awesome. They're the best cover band around. And we just party it up all night. And people who really don't care about Parkinson's can come pay the $20 cover and just listen to a good band. They might throw a few bucks in the hat. They don't, so be it. We've got all these wonderful sponsors. Yeah. I have a good friend of mine, Brian Malone, who's a Rock Steady boxer, who is retired from the pharmaceutical industry. He got so many of those companies that he used to work with when he was in the business sponsoring us. We have a ton of these local companies here. It's really wonderful. It's a great, it's a time of year when I am exhausted, but every day I wake up with new energy because it's such a great thing. On Sunday, I'll be tired.
And I always say Parkinson's disease doesn't take a break, so we can't either, even though it's our own.
You're right.
We're jeopardizing our own. Even in my book, I wrote the first tip, because I do have some good tips in there for caregivers, but you have to take care of your own health first. Unfortunately, I didn't do it, and I'm still not doing it. So, we can only
100%. That's a big, honestly, a big advocacy of mine is my dad. I watched my dad, take care of my mom and really kind of forget about himself. And it got to the point where my mom died in April. My dad died at the end of June the same year. A lot of it was from a broken heart, but he was just, he gave. And so when I see, I've got some in Rock Steady Boxing, we call them corner men. So, the spouse or the child that shows up with a person with Parkinson's to the workout. And I pull them aside a lot and ask them how they're doing, because that can get lost. And it's, yes, we have to focus on the person with Parkinson's, but we can't forget about the person who's taking care of them, because it's a lot of work that, it's, it's not an 8-hour a day job. It's a 23.5-hour a day job. So
now your big events you have 3 this year, but what about, and we'll talk about those first, but what about on downtime? Do people still sign up to ride with you all year long, or is it just on the Peloton, or is it really just these 3 big events?
We're always running stuff out of our gym, right? So the events, the big ride, but I have people coming in here and riding, and people doing Rock Steady. That I've started to do things year round, and I'll touch on the marathon kind of in a second as we work through the year. One thing I started doing 2 years ago on my 50th birthday, usually on my 50th birthday, I go golf and I drink too much beer. And when I turned 50, I thought, I can do that anytime. And so I looked up where I live now and where my gym was and where I grew up, my parents' farm that they actually turned into a bed and breakfast. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to mark off this distance using Strava, and if it's a significant distance, like if the number means something, I'm going to do something with that. Well, I kid you not, from my gym to where I grew up, through my hometown and back to my house was exactly a 50K. So a little over, 32 miles. So on my 50th birthday, July 27th of my 50th birthday, I ran a 50K and raised money for our charity. And Michael J. Fox and raised like $8,000. It wasn't something I put it out there the day of. And then last year I turned 51. Well, I got to do that again. And it was 98 degrees here. That was probably not smart. So I don't know if I'll do that again this year. But the other big thing we do during the year, you touched on before, was the marathons. The last 3 years, we went and done the New York Marathon with Team Fox. We've been their biggest marathon team. I think we've had like 16 come one year, maybe 16 the second year. Last year, I think we were down to like 12. And the neat thing is, there's one marathon runner on our team. The rest of us are me, who kind of runs in the summer, but people who never thought they could do a marathon, I put them through training. And it's not about what's your finishing time. We're going to get you under 5 hours or 4 hours. We're going to get you to finish. So we have our average marathon time on our team is probably 6 hours, but they do it. And it's an amazing experience. I think the first year we raised like 75 grand straight to Michael J. Fox Foundation. So the last 3 years we've done New York. This year, I talked with Katie at Team Fox last year, and we decided to start tackling all the major marathons, which kind of like golf majors. If you're a golfer, there's major marathons. It's New York, Chicago, Boston, London, Tokyo, and Berlin. So this fall, instead of New York, we have, 9 runners or 10, and then spouses and stuff are coming. At the end of September, we fly to Berlin. We do the Berlin Marathon, and then it gets really fun. We hop on a train and we take a train to Munich, and it's Oktoberfest. So we're going to put the time in and raise the money, and then we're going to go to Oktoberfest and drink really good beer and have fun. So that's what we're doing this fall. So that kind of keeps the charity out there kind of for everyone. The whole year round is our goal with that.
It sounds like The Amazing Race. We just started watching.
Yeah. I love The Amazing Race. That's awesome. That would be fun.
We used to run, we probably do like 20, 35 Ks because your marathon isn't happening. But unfortunately, I came down with major back issues. I'm actually having a third spine surgery, but I hope dream one day to get back into
terrible.
that. We would do it for every cause, and just amazing. Sometimes when you're running, it's hard, but when you're done, if you feel that drug of euphoria or something, and
100%.
but it's tough without your back. It's not easy. But I dream someday.
It's kind of important.
I love fitness. I mean, again, back to mental health, which I don't want this to be the mental health show. It's the Parkinson's awareness show. But I mean, there's days where you have so much stuff going on, work, family, this, but then when you can just get out there and sometimes you don't even have music, you just, you forget everything and it's just like, if you're out there and you haven't done that, you can do this too, not just running, just any fitness.
Yep.
Peloton is a big one, but we've come so far with research now and how important exercise is, at least 45 minutes a day for individuals, unfortunately, with Parkinson's, because it can slow the progression despite we not having a cure yet. So I just commend you
Yep.
for what you do, and I just hope everyone listening will share this, help support Eric all year round, and just have a few more lighter side questions. Can you tell us,
Yeah.
maybe you can list 3 words that describe who you are? Now we get to the Oprah topic.
Oh,
The
you didn't even, I didn't even see, oh, this must have been that email I was looking for it this morning. Three
Sometimes I
words.
don't. Sometimes I try to shock you, and this is a shock.
No, I like that. Catch
You
you
are
off guard.
allowed. You are allowed to pass, and we can come back.
Oh, I don't want to pass. 3 words. Um, Thinking about how I know others describe me sometimes, one word's blunt. I can be very blunt in my training when I put out things about the disease and my mom. I shared a picture of my mom from her deathbed when she was 65 pounds.
Mhm.
There's a purpose behind that. And watching my mom have to physically deteriorate to that,
Okay.
that has power. And I asked her first, like it was in one of her lucid moments back then, hey mom, I want to, yep, because she knows that that's going to help educate people. Because quite frankly, there's still people who think, oh, Parkinson's, you just shake. What's
Right.
the big deal? No, that's a lot more than that. And here's what it can lead to. And Lewy body dementia and all this, it's, you don't die of Parkinson's. You die of all these other things that happen as a result of Parkinson's. So I can be very blunt when it comes to putting things out there. When it comes to asking for what we need, I can be very blunt. So I think blunt right up there in the top 3. I'd like to think compassionate is up there in my top 3. I try to take bluntness and compassion and combine them together. Sometimes you can't always, be the cheerleader and be the compassionate person. Sometimes people need a little bluntness. Even my Rock Steady boxers, when they don't feel like it, I'm like, nope, come on, let's go. Third one, I'd like to think I'm at least my Rock Steady boxers will tell me sometimes I'm funny and entertaining.
Mhm.
I like to think that when they're coming here, they're not coming here for me to remind them they have Parkinson's. They're coming here to have really an experience and have a community and get a workout in, but do it with a smile on their face and some sweat dropping down their temple. And that's what I try to give them. I try to almost make them laugh more than I try to make them sweat, because they need this. They need the community, and they need something that they look forward to.
Yeah, as you're speaking and sharing your journey, it almost mirrors what ours was. I don't know, how old was your mother, unfortunately, when she passed?
70, she did not make it to 79, 78.
And my mother was
How old was your mom?
69. And
Oh,
it
that,
almost sounded just like what you said, though. She had it for 15 years. 7 years she didn't really share. I heard the name Parkinson, but we didn't know clue because she kind of didn't want to burden us, so she didn't share it. But then it started
yep,
going downhill. But she went from walking 3 miles a week to the cane for 2 years, and from the cane to the walker for a year, and then the walker to the wheelchair and the bed bound out of nowhere, like shockingly. So I like when you just
yep,
your experience, it almost literally, she was so healthy and fit, never had any medical issues, and she was so paper thin at the end. It was just
yeah,
tough.
it's terrible, isn't it?
I think we have to
Yep,
discuss these things because even though I'm still grieving, I'm sure you are.
yep,
We share it not to make individuals sad, but to learn from the experience and hopefully to help individuals out there also, be aware. And there are things again you can do to slow the progression. And Eric's offering one of the most incredible ones out there. So I commend you for that again. What is
thank
one?
you.
What is one moment or one most memorable moment that stands out to you through all of your work for awareness? I know you mentioned a few, but
Can you hold on 1 second?
maybe you have, I know you already kind of mentioned it, but do you have,
Someone is knocking on my door. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
they can join us. We always want more. Maybe that person can be aware. What is one moment or that stands out to you in your advocacy so far since you started, that the most memorable moment?
Well, really, if it's the most memorable moment, it's that first ride. I shared the video a few days ago, and that first year in my garage, 2016, made this thing up in 29 days. And the week prior to the event, my mom was having a really bad week. Like my dad said, she wants to come ride with you. I don't know if she's going to be able to. And she shows up, and it's like, really, to me, it was prayers were answered, and she felt fantastic. This was before she had really deteriorated. So she was my mom, and I have video of her, and if you can't find it on the page, but it's on our Peloton Facebook page here pretty recently. And I say, hey, mom, say hello, Facebook world, or say hello to Facebook, mom. Hello to Facebook, mom. And she's joking around. And the line that she says to me, I tell her about how much money we've raised. And sometimes this can make me emotional. I'm trying to stay. And I'm telling her about, hey, mom, guess how much money we've raised? $2,000. Well, and I name off a few things. And I tell her, I say, mom, we've raised like $5,000. Oh, and she says a few things, but then this line has always stuck with me. She turns to me, and on video, which I love that I have, she says, you're really something, Eric. And it still to this day, when I play that video, I get really teary-eyed. And I think I play it all the time, like during this stuff. And that for sure it's really the number one. We've had a lot of great moments. That's the number one thing I look back on. I play it every year. It's really my motivator as we grow and this gets harder and harder to pull off. And I've got great people helping me. So now it's not far from just me and my wife, Sarah, and just all these great volunteers. But I always look at that. And when something good happens now, I try to picture my mom saying, you guys are really something. And it really means everything to me. It's that one memory that I kind of keep as a motivator moving on.
And that's why we do that, because now this hopefully podcast will live forever, and we're going to dedicate in your mother's memory, of course. So now your stories will live on forever, and hopefully we'll find a cure, so I don't have to keep doing this to be like, I just want to cure.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Well, that's what Michael J. Fox always says.
I love that.
He says our goal is to shut the doors, and I want to fire all of you.
Yeah.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of similar things too. Again, I know you had your father, but I'm sure you were a caregiver as well. And then shifting to today advocate, a lot similar to me. Who helps you in your times of struggle? Obviously, again, you're a caregiver, but is there any tips too for those caregivers that you could share right now? So first, again, who's your support? I know for me, it was my wife and my children, but maybe you can touch on struggling and support, and also any tips you could give to someone who out there might really not know about all the things either of us do, and now they're going to find out.
Yeah. So caregiver wise, I got to tell you, my dad and my wife were my mom's primary caregivers. I helped out, but I helped out honestly, I could have done more when my mom was alive to help out. Doing the event and stuff was my way of, and I helped, but certainly could have done more. My wife, when you really think about what my wife, Sarah, did, she married into this. It was a second marriage for both of us. She always says, I wish I would have got a chance to know your mom when she was healthy. Sarah got a real small window of my parents in health. And then it was, hey, Sarah, can you help us do this? And, Sarah took care of my dad after my mom died. So Sarah's not only my person, but when my parents were alive, late in their life, she supported my mom. And then when my dad needed help, my wife supported my dad. And my wife's a really amazing person. And to do that for not blood family and for family you just met a few short years ago was incredible. I'll never be able to thank her enough for that. I try every day, but she's incredible with the event. She's very behind the scenes, doesn't get a lot of FaceTime and it's Eric's thing. Like, no, she does a ton of it. from an advice standpoint, the number one advice I have to caregivers is don't forget about your own health.
Right.
You know, the saying is you can't pour from an empty bucket. If you're empty or your bucket starts getting holes in it because you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to have anything to pour out to the person you care about or anybody else. And you gotta take time for yourself. I used to drag my dad out, and when you had my mom in care, well, I want to stay with your mom. Dad, come on, we're going to have a burger and a beer. We're going to go get fish fry. You gotta still take care of yourself. You can't spend every waking hour taking care of that person. You know, you deserve and you need to do things for yourself outside of taking care of them so that you can take care of them. And I feel like a lot of people miss that connection, especially men. When I find in the older generation, that's their job. You know, my dad grew up, you take care of everybody, and my wife's sick, I'm taking care of her, and I'm the one who's going to take care of her all the time. It's not healthy. You need to take care of yourself. And I unfortunately see it too often. And I pull those caregivers aside and say, hey, you and I go get lunch after this and go drop the boxer off at home, or, you know, or let's meet and have a beer, because they need to take care of themselves.
I always say Parkinson's doesn't define a person, and it can never take away our memories. You know, even I don't want to get into the teary side too, but even the cover of the book that I wrote, I have trouble even talking about it because that was the one moment my mother and I danced at my wedding, and it was my favorite day like ever, besides having children. But Parkinson didn't exist in those 2 or 3 minutes, and that's the one moment.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back, but you can't really regret the past. You have to just keep kind of pushing forward. And, you know, that's why, again, I commend you. The only thing I do wish I had done differently was I wish before even Parkinson's, I had a podcast show with her, because I would have loved to have remembered, you know, I would have used that all the time. And back then,
Uh-huh.
no one knew what a podcast was, let alone had one.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's so different, but that's the one thing, because I would have not talked about Parkinson, but just talked about life. And when writing my book, again, it was hard because I didn't have, you know, I only have my father he got divorced, so he wasn't really around, but I don't remember a lot of her life and growing up. Thankfully, her sister's still around, helped me, but it's a shame when you know, you don't want to lose the history because that's your family. So I appreciate
Yep.
comments on that. Last two questions is, if you were asked to write a script, I need a drum roll for this one. You were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it?
Oh, jeez.
Tough crowd. You thought riding a
The,
Peloton and marathons were tough. You didn't know you're coming on this.
so the first thing that popped in my head, and it's an exaggeration, but it's what popped in my head, so I'm going to say it, is from bad to good. And the reason I say that, and one of the reasons I've always really loved Michael J. Fox, is that when you hear him speak or you read his books, he talks about his early years. And he wasn't a bad person, but he was kind of a jerk. He talks about, he'll say, I was kind of a jerk. And he'll say Parkinson's was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm this, and I'm a better person. And it was, and when I was younger, when I worked at a bank, and this is a big, long story for another day and a therapist, but I was very money driven. I worked at the bank. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to have a lot of nice things. And going through divorce and this Parkinson's thing with my mom taught me to value things that were more important. And so I like to think somebody who knew me in 2005 and then maybe they did, and they met me today and they didn't have any time with me in between, they would go, who are you? Where have you come from? I'm not saying I was all bad, but my priorities were very skewed. And so from bad to good is the first thing that popped in my head. So that's what I would, from bad to good and trying to be better every day. You know,
I love it. We need your film crew for the next setting.
There you go.
Add me I'll walk around in the back. Final question is, if you could leave the Parkinson's community with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Get up and fight and get a sweat on. The worst thing that you can do is sit on the couch and feel sorry for yourself. You can do that for like a week. You get diagnosed with Parkinson's, you know, especially when it's young onset Parkinson's. Like, are you kidding me? You're 30 years old, you're 32. You get diagnosed. Yep. Feel sorry for yourself for a few days. Wallow in a little self-pity and that this sucks, because it most certainly does. And you have every right to feel that way. And then get up and kick his ass and do everything you can and go to find there's Rock Steady Boxing all over this country now. There's a class within an hour. Find it. If you can't find it, find one that does it online. If you can't find that, reach out to me. I'm always happy to help people set them up, but just do something. Get on a recumbent bike, go for a walk, get your heart rate up, get a sweat on, and fight back. And not just accept, hey, this is the way it's going to be, and take drugs to try and make it work, because you need the drugs, but you need the other stuff too. You need the exercise, you need the community, you need the support too.
Thank you. I mean, I'm ready to get a Peloton, and both next podcast together, we'll be both riding.
Hey, there's virtual ride registration is still open, my friend.
That's good. And that's what I was going to say. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or cover? And also, if you could share your website again, how someone can.
Yeah, so it's www.Peloton4Parkinsons.com. I'm not going to spell Peloton unless I wrote it down. But no, the virtual rider, virtual riders, you can still sign up. We've already sent out the shirts kind of that will arrive by event day. So if someone signs up within these last few days, we actually send them all out after the event as one bulk, because it's way easier. We don't just individually send stuff out. Virtual rides are still open. Our dinner on Friday night, you can actually watch the presentation virtually for free. You can go to the dinner page. You can't come to the dinner anymore because we had to turn in the food order, but you can watch the presentations for free. We have great people from the U of N, Struthers Parkinson's Center, myself speaking. The virtual ride, and then the single rides. If somebody happens to watch this that's within the driving distance of Hudson, Wisconsin, we're about 40 minutes outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. You can still come and hop on a ride or two. We got the party going Saturday night with a great band. We got a silent auction. You can bid on the silent auction from anywhere in the world. We have technology involved with everything we do. We use classy.org, which is the same company Team Fox uses. We got awesome silent auction items, and get involved. If it's not with us, get involved with a community locally, and just do what you can.
I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to the listeners today and myself. Again, it's been a pleasure and really an honor. I have a little message for you and everyone listening. This goes, and Eric will probably agree, but we love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Eric, will advocate for you, and together our voices are just so much stronger. And I believe Eric probably thinks this too, but I always say I'm just getting started, because when I see your posts and your work and your story and journey, it really inspires me to keep pushing and keep fighting. And I'm never going to stop till we find a cure. In memory of my mother and your mother and all those out there, not just fighting today and their caregivers, but in memory of all those, unfortunately, that we've lost due to Parkinson, but we keep their memory going. So thank you again for joining us. It really means
awesome. Thank you, George. You're inspiring as well. I can't wait to get the book.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. And again, this has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son, George. Thanks for joining us. Please follow Eric. Please share this. And remember, this goal to end this disease is all up to all of us, because, we're not alone. None of us are alone in this fight. So keep pushing, keep riding, and keep jumping on that Peloton. Don't hurt yourself when you do. I hope to see all of you out there live virtually with Eric on one of his incredible episodes and shows, and just really incredible things happening. And you definitely, again, inspire me, and you're making me look up and see that there's still a lot of hope in the future. So thank you again.
Awesome. I appreciate that.